evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Mahoning Drive-In Theater, the largest single-screen drive-in in the United States. We're certainly glad you could be with us this evening, and don't forget the concession stand is open with all kinds of great things to eat and drink.
89.3 Mahoning Drive-In Radio, your old friend Virgil back once again for another exciting episode of the podcast. As you guys know, the only podcast dedicated to the love and revival of our beloved drive-in culture. Joined as always by my co-hosts, Mark, General Manager Extraordinaire. Say hello, my friend.
Hello.
And Jeff, King of the Mahoning, owner, projectionist. Say hello, my friend.
Good evening, everybody.
Continuing our Owners Operators series here on the podcast, which I say it every time is so loved by many. And today we're really excited to be joined by the general manager of the Boys 61 in Delmar, Iowa, which has been running since 1950 and in Miss Sara Clasen's family since 1972. She is third generation running this gorgeous single screen drive-in. Welcome, Sara, to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my gosh, we are so excited. We were talking about it before you came on. We do some research, and your theater is like the kind of perfect picket fence presentation of the drive-in. It's just absolutely gorgeous in the most perfect setting, it seems.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. We take a lot of pride on keeping our drive-in looking nice and sharp, and it's nestled right. It's got three sides of cornfields, so it's perfect atmosphere to be out there watching movies under the stars.
Yeah, normally one of the earliest questions we ask is, so what's the layout like? Do you have the light pollution? Are you built up around? You are the total opposite. You are literally surrounded by cornfields, and I guess the light pollution isn't much of an issue for you.
Not at all. The one issue we would have related to that would be right in behind our screen. So as you're watching the movie, there's a 4-lane highway. So you do see the cars going by, but it adds a nice ambiance to your evening.
Man, so lucky. We're in a scenario where we feel that we're kind of standoff from the town, and it allows us to have a little bit of a line down the road, but we start to block traffic almost instantly. And I said, man, I don't know what traffic they'd be blocking, you know?
Yeah. We are very lucky. We have our own paved private entrance road. But before we had that, we had issues every weekend with blocking the two intersecting highways that we're close to. We would have the sheriff's officer out there every weekend trying to hustle us to get cars in as they were blocking the road.
Yeah.
We were on a first name basis for quite a while.
They're here again. Yeah.
Yep. My grandpa and I would always be like, who's going to go talk to him? And grandpa would always be like, well, I'm not doing it. I always drew that short straw.
Yeah, that's how it goes, you know? Well, we love the history of drive-ins, and we've talked to drive-ins from all over the world at this point with all different types of scenarios. The fact that you have such a familial situation going on being the third generation, I'm so curious. But before we jump into that, do you have much knowledge of before you guys acquired it in 72, that early run from 50s?
Not really too much. When it opened, it was the 61 Drive-In. We're located on Highway 61 in Delmar, and my grandfather's last name is Voy. So a few years ago, we added the Voy in front of it so that his legacy would always be there. I know the very first movie they played was Rachel and the Stranger.
Yes, we love that.
Yep. And it was $0.25 to get in.
You gotta love retro pricing, right?
Absolutely. We have some of the advertisements from that time that people have given us over the years. But other than those little tidbits of information, I don't know much.
Well, you guys are the same timeline as we are. We opened in 49. You guys are 50. So we really run as far as the ups and downs of the drive-in culture. We've seen it all, you know, as you know. how did your grandfather, Dennis, come to acquire this drive-in?
Yeah, so the drive-in is located about 5 miles from the cutest little town in eastern Iowa called Makokata.
Yes.
And at the time, my grandpa was running a radio station in Makokata, as well as the theaters. He owns a radio station. And a friend of his owned the drive-in at the time, and they would meet for coffee every morning. And his friend was looking to get out of the drive-in, the movie business, and said, this would be great for you. You could advertise it on your radio station. It would be great for the community. And that, long story short, that's how it started, over a cup of coffee. My grandpa bought the drive-in, and then a year later, he bought his indoor triplex theater.
Come on.
I know.
That is, it's one of those storybook stories. I love doing this podcast as we get to hear it, but sometimes it sounds scripted where it's like, that is storybook. That is so amazing. So he was able to acquire the drive-in and the indoor. Is the indoor still there?
It is. Yep.
Stop! Oh my gosh.
Yep. So the indoor theater is the Voy 3 theaters. And then we have the Voy 61 drive-in. And the indoor theater is, I know we're talking about drive-ins, but sidestep to the indoor theater for a minute. It is like a step back in time, almost. It's got this like purple floral wallpaper, and it's got felt on the walls and these like crystal chandeliers. It's fantastic. It's the essential small town theater.
Well, it, like running in the drive-in, we are like so nostalgia's embedded in us,
Yes.
And that love certainly crosses over to these classic movie houses. And we have a couple around us. We're blessed, but we love whenever a drive-in can survive, but certainly a indoor movie house, which is even more of a challenge these days.
Oh, I hear you there. Absolutely.
Man, so local radio, how did he get involved in that? Was that kind of his calling, and then got the bug for the theaters?
So that's another funny story. In high school, he's from Horicon, Wisconsin. And in high school, he ran an illegal radio station.
Pirate,
that actually got shut down. And then he went to college for a bit afterwards, but ended up getting drafted into the Army. And while he was in the Army, he was their radio DJ. So I did not know until he had told me the story that the Army actually had a radio DJ, but they do, come to find out. So once he was done with the Army, he knew he had this bug for the radio business and wanted to continue. And KMAQ radio was just opening in Makokata. So he moved. It was about 4 hours away from his parents, just out on a limb to go get this new DJ job at this new radio station. And a couple years later, he bought the radio station, and the rest is history. I know.
I love that, the entrepreneurial spirit,
Absolutely.
And it really does. The story sounds, very kind of communal, the small town draw, the fact that you guys are able to still function kind of the way that you have since the 70s.
Isn't that amazing?
It's incredible. So that's
Yes.
not the case. It's, our town expanded and pushed us out, in a way.
Yeah, our community is wonderful. They definitely embrace both of the theaters and are very supportive. We're very thankful and lucky to have that.
Incredible. Can you paint us a little bit of a picture as far as, well, besides the layout, as far as the cornfields, when you pull up to the drive-in, single screen, single concession stand, or anything stand out?
So one of the unique things I think about our drive-in is we have the natural built-in hump parking. So a lot of drive-ins that I've seen, especially around our area, are flat or
they don't have the berms.
Yep. So we have those front to back, and we're completely grass. We have our graveled entrance and exit roads, but otherwise it's green grass from corner to corner.
Beautiful.
Yes, and we have a relatively new concession stand that we remodeled maybe a decade ago. And a couple of things that are unique to us is we are really pride ourselves on being a family-friendly environment.
Yep.
So we have pre-movie activities for the children. So we have like a swing set and a sandbox, a basketball court, tether balls. We have a baseball diamond, a volleyball area.
Come
And
on, a dream.
yeah, the best of the pre-movie activities is we have a train that drives around and gives free rides to the kids before
My
the movie.
God, it's a movie wonderland.
Yes.
Ah,
The story to how my grandfather got this train is pretty funny also, but it has been around since I think 75, and the train is it's a big draw for us. It's super fun.
oh my gosh. We always say it's so important to pass on the love of the drive-in culture to the next generation. And talking to businesses that find the way to appeal to the youngsters is an extra treat. What kid is not going to fall in love with that drive-in experience with that much fun to be had?
Absolutely. A few years ago, we started once a month during the summer, we have a family night, which is discounted admission. And we usually have either like a petting zoo or face painter or
Yeah,
something
yeah.
along those lines. And last summer, I had a lady approach me on one of our family nights, and I had never met her before. She came up, gave me a big hug, and, thanked me for providing the drive-in. They had 4 generations of their family there
Oh,
that evening at the drive-in. And they had all, as parents brought their kids and so on and so on. So that evening there were the kids, the parents, the grandparents, and the great grandparents.
amazing.
Oh my gosh, it had just brought me so much joy, and they just had such an amazing time. That's what it's all about for us.
That's right. It's
Yep.
moments like that where you can see the magic trick working and the kids just becoming lifers where they're like, this is my place. This is my culture.
Yes.
So fully surrounded by the gates, or is that just underneath of the screen?
We just have fencing underneath our screen and out a little bit to block our entrance and exit roads,
Yeah.
but otherwise we're open.
And your guys' marquee on the back of the screen tower, or do you have one by the road?
We have it on the back of the screen, which faces our entrance road and the 4-lane highway.
Yeah, perfect.
Yes, it is great. So I graduated high school 20 years ago, and one of my senior pictures was sitting on top of the marquee at the drive-in.
Yeah.
So now I've like got it in my head that I need to recreate that this summer, 20 years later. Which seems like a great idea until every time I'm out there and I'm like, that's a little bit higher up there than I remember.
Than I remember. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so that's what we're all debating now, is if Sarah will recreate the picture this summer.
Well, I love the appeal again of the family draw to not just your drive-in, but every drive-in. And I've mentioned it many times. I've talked about running a drive-in since I was a kid when I fell in love with it. And that dream shifted a little bit as I got older to, wouldn't it be amazing to raise a family and start a family around the drive-in and its culture? And have been
Yeah.
blessed enough to be able to do that with my kids and the success of the Mahoning. And it seems like you're right in that wheelhouse. You were lucky enough to grow up around the theater culture. You got your family involved. What was that like as far as those early days around the drive-in as a kid?
Oh my gosh, we would go to the drive-in all the time with my grandpa. Up until a couple of years ago, he was there every single night they were open. He would go out and just sit and watch the people. And so every night, one of the grandkids would go with him. And, the kidding joke and rule at the drive-in is the grandkids get whatever they want. So it was always, a little bit of a bicker who got to go with grandpa, because you knew that you were going to get spoiled for the evening. But we went with him all the time. We rode the train, we did all of the things. And those are some of my greatest memories of being out there with him. And it's just comes full circle now, being out there with him as an adult. And he and I have nice little competition going to see which of his records I can break and hold the current title to.
I
Which,
love that.
yeah, he finds it less enjoyable as the years go on, and I take control of more of those titles. Um, but we have a nice little friendly competition going.
Oh gosh. I think about it, and my buddy growing up, his dad ran the concession stand at the local little league football field, whatever. And we could get in there and get the candy, and it was like, oh my God, we're like kings. But imagine
Yes.
your grandfather owning the drive-in. It's like you must have been the most popular.
Oh, I mean,
Like
yeah, right?
everybody wants to be your friend, right?
Oh, heck yeah. You get a little pep in your step when you knew you could just walk in and grab some M&Ms off the shelf and
That's
help
right, baby.
yourself. And
Yeah.
oh, yeah. At our indoor theater, we have a couple of private viewing boxes where you can watch the movie in your own area. It's on
Yep.
the second floor, so you're actually sitting above everyone in the auditorium. And you can sit up there in this private room and watch your movie. And that was the place to have our birthday parties as we were
Oh my
growing up.
God. The VIP balcony, like, oh,
Uh-huh.
what a dream. Well, how did you get involved with the theater? Was it a calling? Did the bug bite you and you just knew?
I have always loved the theaters as I've grown up around them. I worked at both of the theaters all through middle school, high school, after high school. And probably 4 years ago, my grandpa had gotten sick. And at that time, his general manager was retiring, and it was just somebody was going to have to step in and help, or they were going to have to close.
Yeah.
And I could not bear that happening. I didn't necessarily at the time view myself as running the theaters as a long-term solution, but I knew I didn't want them to close. And over the last 4 years, I have grown to love the business just as much as he does. And I can't imagine doing anything else. It just brings me so much joy.
Just it seems written in the stars, and we know it. The first ingredient to this, especially nowadays, is the passion, is the heart, and you have that built into what you're doing. You have a real stake in this business.
Absolutely. It's been probably a couple years since my grandpa's been able to get out to the drive-in, but I'll call him every night on the way home and we chat about how the night was, and he helps me pick the movies for the next week, and
Oh,
it's a great connection that we have.
it's incredible. Again, going back to that family connection, these are the lifeblood of families and what they've put into it over generations. And to see people step up and keep it alive, especially ones that are in the family, because we see these theaters closing all the time because the kids didn't have any interest in it, and
Yeah.
it decays, and there goes that legacy. But to have that on your back, what a sense of pride you must have about it.
Absolutely. I love it so much. And I love being able to provide that environment for all of the families who patronize the drive-in. And I love being able to continue his legacy and build off of all the huge foundation that he laid. And I hope that someday when the time comes, I'll be able to buy the drive-in and continue. And someday my kids will bicker over who gets to run it.
Yeah, the ultimate dream.
Sarah, this is Jeff. How old is your grandfather, if you don't mind me asking?
My grandpa is 84.
Okay, I thought he was probably, because I feel for him. The reason I asked you that is because I feel for him. I'm only 65, but I know I'm not going to live forever. And the day that I have to walk away from it, I mean, it's going to kill me. I'm going to hate it. But
Yes.
I feel for him. I mean, if he can't make it out there anymore, that must tear him up a little bit.
It absolutely does. It's so helpful for him that he can kind of live vicariously through me, and
Yeah.
and still hear about all of the things that happen. And a lot of times I'll even take pictures or videos to text him while we're out there for the evening. And
Oh,
but that was very, very difficult for him.
Yeah.
I think actually the last time he's been out there was we had a big party for his 50th anniversary So that would have been a year and a half ago. And I
Yeah.
don't think he's been out there since then, which is really, really difficult for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every time during the drive-in season, because, we're in Iowa, so we're closed during the winter. But all spring and summer long, he'll be like, do you have the grass cut? Do you have the fence painted? He goes off this list of,
Gotta stay on top of it.
Yep, he can't be there to check in on me. He's got to make sure that I'm keeping it up.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great.
It's a blessing, again, it's gone the other way so many times. And even coming into the Mahoning, that was really our plan, was the long term, to be able to have things in place and people in place to be able to carry this on for now another 75 years as we celebrate our diamond anniversary. But it's a blessing to have that in the back pocket, because it is, again, that legacy, your grandfathers, Jeff's, the numerous owners across the board that really have put their heart and soul into these places and made these memories for people. And it's important to carry on, which is a big reason why we started doing this podcast, is as the light got shined on us by the grace of God, we knew we wanted to expand that light and make it what it's really about, which is the preservation of the culture. It's fun that we all do these great big events and pull people in, but ultimately we're preserving a simpler time in American culture and beyond, and really trying to set that forth for the next generation.
Absolutely. I could not agree with you more. And I think, if you look back at all of the changes that have occurred to the movie business over the last 40, 50 years, from film to sound to film fees to rights to all of those things.
Yep, television, cable,
yes,
move video
streaming.
tours. Yep.
Yeah, like you're fighting an uphill battle, and you have to have that light to guide you, that you're working for this bigger purpose, because otherwise it's difficult.
Yeah, the waves will knock you over, but knowing that those waves came even bigger for the generations before us, and they found a way to overcome it, like, that's the thing that really fuels the fire for me. And doing these interviews certainly helps, but to think about that struggle, like, we talk about the release dates and the windows and streaming, and it must have been the same exact thing for when movies started coming out on VHS and, home video, and cable became the market. And I mean, your grandfather, you guys lived through all that,
Yeah, it's so funny. Just the other day, I was complaining to him that I had to wait 2 hours for my movie to download off the satellite.
You caught yourself?
I sat there for 2 hours waiting for this. And that was the wrong thing to say. Because then I got quite the slew of stories about the old film and carrying the reels up and down the steps at the theater and splicing the film together. So I was quickly reminded that I should be thankful for my 2-hour wait.
That's right. In perspective, right?
Yeah.
Being the only 35 millimeter drive-in, full-time 35 millimeter drive-in, we love to talk about that aspect of any historical theater. Was your grandfather, besides inspection and putting together the film, was he the one running that projector, or did you guys always have a projectionist?
No, it was usually my grandpa, his manager, and then at that time I was in high school, and my dad. There were pretty much the four of us that could make by, and we all kind of pitched in together. And there was one night I was out there by myself, and the film had broken, which, as we all know, is terrible. And I had called my grandpa, and I was like, you need to come splice it back together. And he's like, no, Sarah, you can do it. And I was like, no, I've never done it. I've just watched you do it. And he's like, well, I'm in bed already.
So here's the challenge. Go.
Yeah. He was like, I'm sure you can do it. And I did. But
oh, that sense of accomplishment. He knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
Were you running reel to reel, or did you have platters then?
We had platters.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any sort of remnants of the 35 millimeter still lingering around the theater?
Oh, absolutely. I am a big fan of using the reels to decorate.
Yes.
So we have those all over the place. And we do still have quite a few broken pieces of film. I think we have like a tote of it. And I oftentimes will, take a picture and see if anybody can guess what film it is on Facebook or
Yes.
yeah, that's one of my favorite games to play.
Oh, that's super fun. Yeah, we find the appeal for kids, when they come into the booth and parents are explaining how it works, the film going through the projector. We started doing cut up trailers and we'll give them like a bookmark
Oh,
and
I
they
love it.
they get so
Yeah.
wowed by
Yeah.
it. Like I'd say, hold it up to the light, that it's just you can see that really sticking with the kids.
Yes, I absolutely love bringing families into the projection room to give them a tour and show them how everything works. And,
Yeah.
occasionally we'll have that lucky kid that gets to hit the play button.
Oh yeah. He has all the power.
Uh-huh.
I take it you guys first floor projection booth. Is it raised? Are you all single floor in that concession stand?
Yes, at the drive-in it is. Yep. We have a nice little fenced-in area in front of our concession stand, which we learned the hard way that it's really fun to jump and put your hand in front of the movie. So
You got to do best you can.
yeah. So we had to, I think we've extended that fence a couple of times from my recollection.
Oh, that's amazing. Like they're finding a way over it.
Yep.
Well, I see now that the projectionist that you have is also the mayor. What's up?
Yeah. So Tommy has been working for my grandpa probably longer than I've been alive, to be honest. I don't know for sure. He recently retired, though. So Tommy retired at the end of last year, and thankfully, we have not had to call him with any sort of emergency as he has bestowed his knowledge on myself and a couple other employees. So, but he is the mayor, and he was a volunteer fireman. He's the engineer at my grandpa's radio station. He's a 911 dispatcher. Tommy holds a lot of hats.
This is all sounding very Mayberry to us.
Yes.
I love it so much. Was he involved during the changeover from 35 millimeter to digital?
Absolutely. Tommy and the general manager at the time, Jack, they absolutely spearheaded that 100%. And it was a big undertaking at the time. My grandpa, it was 4 digital projectors he had to buy between all of the theaters. And,
I was just going to ask. Yeah, all in one shot, right?
Yeah, like those puppies aren't cheap. So
No.
It was a big commitment. And at that time, that was kind of the beginning of the stall, I guess, of the movies. And so, trying to decide if you're going to jump in and see what happens, or maybe take your time and see what happens if you can keep getting film. Or I remember it was a very big decision for my grandpa what he was going to do.
It's so difficult, especially when you've been doing it for so long and know this medium as the kind of centerpiece of it. And then your whole entire world and industry is just like, nope, we're changing. That's absolutely where we were in 2014 and back against the wall, had to make that decision. Except it was, do we close or do we go into insane debt? It was just
exactly. Yeah.
It was really the challenging point, and we saw so many not just drive-ins but those mom and pop theaters say there's no way, there's just no way, we're already scraping by, there's no way. And we've been really blessed to be able to find our niche with 35 millimeter and the classic presentation. But that shift for a lot of people is always something that I like to bring up on the show. Anybody that was involved,
Absolutely.
So I'm going to pass it on over to the guys if they have any questions. But before I do, doing the research that we do, we are lucky enough to hit some sellout numbers. We're also a single screener, so we feel that capacity. You kind of reach a certain scenario. You, unlike anybody else that we've talked to, offer walk-ups if the theater is totally sold out, you can park your vehicle outside and walk up.
Heck
I
yeah,
guess that
we
was
do.
a learning process, huh?
So that was one of the greatest things about our private entrance road is we do have that extra available parking. And there are a lot of nights we do have people park outside, and we have a large grassy area between the screen and our very first row of parking.
Yeah.
And they'll come and pop a squat down there and enjoy the movie, front row seats.
Best spot in the house.
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
We have people utilize that frequently.
We always talked about that, and we have those big sellout nights. It's like, that is the coveted space, and we could sell that for a premium.
I know.
Blanket
Exactly.
seating only,
Yes. I would
Oh,
love
that's
to figure
great.
out a way to do reserved parking spots. That's on my 5-year plan.
Yeah, we've talked to some theaters, and with the pandemic that swept through, as terrible as it was for the world, it really did help the drive-in industry, and certain things were put into place with mobile ordering and reserved parking, things like that. And some theaters have really been able to keep that up and find a way to make that a part of their biz, or love it so much to make it a part of their biz.
Absolutely.
Jeff, anything for Sarah?
Now, I'm just assuming, since you were there in 72 and as in high school and later on, when you guys went digital, I imagine you had to really redo your projection booth, I would imagine, because you have to keep them warm in the winter, cool in the summer, unless you actually take them out over the winter.
Yes, we did. We had to add heating and cooling definitely to that part of the building. And at the time we got the digital projector, none of the building had heating or cooling. We were really limited as to when we could be open. When we remodeled and expanded after we got the digital projector, the rest of the building does have heating and cooling now, but that was also a major adjustment when we got the new system.
Yeah, that's what and then that's one of the reasons that I really didn't want to have to give up the 35 unless I had to. But going on that, what does your season normally run? You're open from when to when?
Typically, we are open April to October.
Oh, that's the same as us.
Yeah, same as us.
I will toot my own horn for a hot second, though. I did beat my grandpa's record last year with staying open later in the year. I was open into December, which he had never done before.
Wow.
Yep.
That does beat us as far as I know, because one year, and this is before Virgil and Mark came along, I was open until November the 10th. That was the latest we ever went, was November the 10th.
Yep. Last year, we were open the first 2 weekends in December.
Wow.
And the first weekend, we actually were so close to selling out.
Wow.
What did you guys have? What was out?
We had the perfect movies for the first weekend of December. It was Elf and National Lampoon's.
Yep, that'll do it.
Yep. We
That's
had
fantastic.
just come off of Taylor Swift,
Yeah.
which was another first for us. We had never done anything like that before. And the weather was still nice. And I was like, oh, sounds like a good idea to me.
Why not? And Taylor Swift kept you open, I'm sure. They made you stay, 4 weeks commitment?
Yeah, we ended up having it a little longer than that because our grosses required us to keep it longer.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was definitely Taylor Swift did out.
You're like, if I hear another damn.
Yes, I think I still have maybe like 20 of the popcorn tubs left.
Oh my
and I'm
gosh,
like,
yeah.
please just somebody take these.
Get them out of my life.
Yeah.
That's great.
So
That's
now
great.
the joke with my grandpa is last year I beat his record by staying open later in the year. So now I've got the itch. I'm like, I got to get open so I can take the beginning of the year record too. And
That's right.
What's his record for opening at the beginning of the year?
he and I were just talking about this the other day, and he thinks it was like the middle of March, but I need to go back and double check. So
Yeah.
if that's true, I need to get my little feet to work.
Right. Well, you got Ghostbusters coming at the end of March, so that'll be good.
I know, won't that be perfect?
Yeah, that's gonna be a
We
killer.
actually have a local Ghostbusters club
Yes.
that is about an hour from us, and the last Ghostbusters release, I can't remember, was that last year or the year before?
Yeah, maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was 2 years ago.
The Ghostbusters Club came out to the drive-in with all of their vehicles and their suits and everything, and oh, it was so cool.
Yeah. Jeff has a connection, just like your grandfather. He learned how to project while involved in his run and is still involved in radio. So,
Yeah, I've been in radio and theaters all my adult life. I started out as a disc jockey, and then I went to traffic manager. I moved up in the company because I mean, I hate to admit it, but I'm 65 now. Who wants to see a 65-year-old disc jockey? Nobody. So
I don't know about that. Dennis Boyd disc jockeyed until he was 81. So
wow.
The question is, do they want to hear a
yeah, well, no, that part's okay. I still have a radio show on the side, but I mean, as far as going out and doing live gigs and stuff, nobody wants to look up and see some 65-year-old guy. Hey, here's the latest hit. But I do still have a radio show. Other than that, the drive-in, even though we're open 6 months out of the year, we're open for same as you from April to October. And that takes a lot of my time, especially when I'm going back and forth between the two in the summer.
absolutely. Dennis Boyd would agree with you on that.
Yeah.
What a balance. Mark, anything for Sarah?
Oh, I've got a list.
Oh boy. All right.
Strap in. One of the things I do before we talk to somebody like this is I utilize Google Maps to sort of spy on your theater from the sky and drive by virtually. It's really cool. We were talking about this before you came on, the guys and I. It's really cool to be able to get a sense of the space from afar at a theater you've never been and really kind of see what the layout is. And it looks, at least from above, like you have a relatively sizable lot. What's the car capacity for you there?
Well, the funny thing is, I always say, if I were to park the cars, the car capacity would be a lot different. Because, of course, when they park themselves, it cuts your numbers.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we can hold probably about 250.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
And looking at the lot from above, what is that building in the back?
That houses our train.
Oh, okay. I figured it was some sort of a utility shed. It was just this long, skinny building from above, so we couldn't tell if it was storage or utility or it's the train shack.
Yep, it's for our train. So it's got garage doors on both ends, so you can just drive the train straight in and straight out.
That's great.
That's fantastic. And I noticed the snack bar. We always record this show around the time that I have not yet eaten dinner. And when we get to the point of talking about the concession items, I turn into a savage beast. What are your most popular or unique, shall we say, snack bar items?
By far, most popular is our popcorn and walking tacos.
Yeah,
we could sell those for days.
Taco.
Oh my gosh, tacos!
Talk about nostalgia. Yeah.
Yes. We also have really good brats that are popular. This year, I think I'm going to add in some chicken tendies and French fries, which will be exciting for us. We also expanded our ice cream selection last year, which is great in the heat of the summer to have those options. Yeah.
So I see on the website, I really enjoyed the website, by the way. For both Voy theaters, they overall have a really positive, fun vibe to them, which I can only imagine is conveying the spirit of going to the theaters themselves. I love that you have a page for all of your staff with a photo of like every staff member and a little bit about them. I love that you have your children listed as the vice presidents. And you listed.
Did you like their job description?
I was going to say, I love their duties or lack thereof. Official snack bar food tester is a job I think many people would willingly do for free.
Yep. I think it says something along the lines like, if you see them at the theater, they're probably eating or playing a game. Because they're so movied out.
Do you do any special events at the theater? I see that you've done or are doing a food truck festival, but do you have any like recurring special events or things that you've tried out over the last couple decades?
Yes. So my grandpa had always done some sort of once a year dusk till dawn horror night. And that had kind of ended in the 90s, early 2000s. Just as the business changed, he had stopped doing them. Well, I brought those back about 4 years ago, and good Lord, it is busy.
They love it.
Once a year in the fall, we have a dusk till dawn horror night, and horror movies are absolutely not my jam. So we'll sit in the concession stand. We don't listen to the movie. We have the window closed. Like, I'm in my own little happy place.
You sound like one of our longest running employee, Jess, is very skittish when it comes to horror films. And one of the most entertaining evenings I spent at our theater was standing behind her, watching her watch the last 20 minutes of Carrie. And
oh, no.
It was a full body performance reacting to that film. And yeah, horror does really well for us. We find that's probably our most dependable genre. I mean, we're all retro, so it's all, sort of established classics and things like that. But that show does well for you.
Yeah, our bread and butter is definitely family kid movies. But once a year, we do the Dusk Till Dawn in the fall, and we added in breakfast last year, which was super fun. And then we do our family nights once a month throughout the summer, and we always do a big celebration for National Drive-In Movie Day in June. But other than that, those are really the only steady events that we do ourselves at the drive-in. A couple years ago, we started where we're open to the public on weekends, and during the week we do private rentals where you can rent out the entire drive-in for your group, and those have been a lot of fun. There's a wide variety of events that people have had, which is super fun.
I was going to ask about that. The rental breakdown that you have, is that only for nights that you're not open to the public, or can people do, because it showed half lot rentals or full lot rentals? Is it only on non-operational nights, or could somebody rent half the lot on a Friday if they wanted to?
Nope. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday is all mine. We're open to the public, no rentals at all. And then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we do our rentals. You can rent the front half, the back half, or the entire lot.
Very cool. So very similar to what we do. Yeah.
Yeah. We've become a popular wedding destination over the years. So I think we already have like 3 weddings.
I have somebody who wants to do a wedding next year, and I'm already having anxiety. I'm like, I don't think I can handle this.
It's pressure, right?
That's a lot of pressure.
I always feel like it's such a huge compliment when somebody they want you to become part of their story, or the beginning of their story, as it were. The other question I had was about your general manager at the indoor and the outdoor theater. What are the benefits and challenges of that? I mean, half the season you're only managing one theater, but there's the thick of summer, big time movie season, you're juggling 2 theaters at the same time. Do you get benefits or advantages from the studios for booking for 2 locations? I mean, how does that all work?
You would think, but
studio
those
benefits.
Greedy people.
Go figure.
Yeah, and that's putting it mildly.
I was gonna say, don't even open my soapbox on that one. No,
that's okay. Go ahead. Nobody listens to this.
Stop recording first. No.
Yeah.
At the drive-in, we do get some leeway with the film company because we show double features every night. So that affects our film fee. It's usually a combination fee rather than per film. But as far as the movie business side of it, there's really not a lot of advantages to having 2 different locations. The drive-in season is sun up till sundown, movies, popcorn.
Yep. Well, I'm curious, challenges of being a single screener. We've talked to a couple, and we are a single screener. So being a first run single screener, what are those hurdles like for you?
Oh, how much time do we have?
I guess it must be a little bit of padding, knowing that you could potentially program it at your indoor, But for me, it would be just impossible to pick and choose, you know?
That is probably what is the most difficult is every week you're just taking a shot in the dark and taking a gamble on, is this movie going to do well? Should I wait until I know I'm going to have good weather?
Yes.
And the restrictions that come with the films are added difficulty, where you have to have a 3-week runtime, or that is incredibly difficult for us. Or, the studios not wanting to play well together, and, you can have this movie, but you can't play it with this movie. And that adds difficulty for us.
Yeah, it's the constant hurdle.
Yeah.
Do you feel any pain in this modern age of the community consensus on movies, where right away kind of the Twitter world will decide whether a movie is worthy or not?
Isn't that the difficult thing?
It's like there were reviews, during the newspaper days, but now it's like even before a movie comes out, people are like, this movie's terrible, don't waste your time. And I'm thinking,
like all the recent advertisements for Madam Web,
yes,
they're just all so negative.
Don't go. It's practically what they're telling you,
Yeah, that is absolutely difficult.
Yeah, it's this new age, like we talked about early on. It's the ability to be able to pivot, the ability to be able to kind of jump those hurdles as they present themselves and keep a positive attitude about it. That's really, I guess, kind of the trick, right?
Completely agree with you. Yep.
Well, before we let you go, this is something I'm going to start adding to these owner-operators series, and especially because you are coming into it third generation, have the history. Any sort of advice that you could give to a future owner, somebody who's really pushing to get into the theatrical game?
Oh my gosh. I would say, from my experience, a love of movies is a great start, but your heart really has to be in the environment that you're providing rather than the entertainment. I think that, just like we talked about earlier, being able to provide a space for those core memories to be established is the ultimate driving factor for me.
Yeah. And movies for us are really secondary. Like we find people who come and get their money's worth before that sun even sets. Like they are so in their community space and getting what they want that it just proves the point that the draw and the love of the drive-in is just so rich.
I could not agree with you more.
You have to.
Okay.
No, I was just going to say you have to love the space that you're in. I know in 2001, when I first came to the Mahoning as just the manager and projectionist, years before I took over the business, I looked around and I said, this place reminds me of the places I went to as a kid, or my parents took me to as a kid. And I decided this is where I'm staying. So I stopped moving on at that point.
Absolutely. We have right outside of our concession stand, at kind of the exit door butts right up to that fence in front of our building that blocks the light, the kids from jumping in the light. And there's a spot right outside the door where my grandpa would stand, and he would stand there from the time they opened to the time the movie started, just watching people. And often nights I find myself in that same spot. It's just, standing and watching everyone without their phones or without their tablets and playing a card game or running around tossing a frisbee. Like those are the moments that keep me going.
Yep, absolutely.
Truly living life, making those memories that they'll be talking about for years to come.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, not just for being on the podcast, but for preserving a legendary space, a space that means so much to your community. And more than that, for really stepping up and taking the reins from your grandfather and keeping this theater alive and in your family.
Thank you so much. It's the greatest privilege I've had.
No, it's amazing. Let the folks know that are listening and lovers of drive-ins where they might be able to find out more information on you, whether social media or website.
Yeah, so we are the Voice 61 Drive-In Theater in Delmar, Iowa. We have a Facebook page that I occasionally can be kind of witty on. Our website is www.61-driveintheater.com.
You run the same exact time frame that we do, but if you open up a little bit early, there's that chance that we might be able to come out, visit, eat some traveling tacos, hang out. It'll be a great time.
Oh, you let me know. That would be amazing.
Or if you can just stay open until mid to late December.
That would work too.
I'm also all in for let's have a little pre-opening private movie night just to ourselves.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Let me know.
All day.
That would be cool.
You know, you always got to have that trial run so we can make it work.
That's right. Well, Sarah, you've been an absolute treat. Be sure to give Dennis all of our love. Tell him we so appreciate all the work that he has put into this place, and it means so much to all of us.
I will, absolutely. He's really looking forward to listening when you're all set.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Right.
Dennis, we love you. Thank you so much for everything that you're doing and that you've done. We can't wait to visit the Voy. And on that note, Jeff, take it away, my friend.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for coming out tonight to the Mahoning Drive-In Theater. We hope you'll come back and see us again real soon. The exit is on the right-hand side of the screen at the front of the field, and most importantly, have a very safe trip home. Good night, and God bless you.